and this mayor have developed a national and international reputation for good financial management. And this budget represents that, and it deserves your support.
Councillor Fielding.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I do want to also register some comments from my good friend Brenda Leipzig. Just looking at council, I probably have known Brenda probably the most out of anyone. I cut my teeth in the political arena, I guess, back in '93, and Brenda was one of the ones that I joined when she was president of the PC party, and later on down the line followed suit with her, being good friends with her throughout the process, and being on the board of the convention center and then joining council at the same time. So, you know, all the comments are very valid, and I just want to say she'll be very much missed. So she's a very good friend. In terms of the 2009 capital budget, I'm very much pleased to rise today to support it. I think that the budget, really this is the first budget that I had some direct support. I came in at the end of the process, but I can tell you it's not always an easy task, as Councillor Steeves had mentioned. I want to thank everyone that was involved. Councillor Swandell knows the details better than most people. In fact, I think in terms of some of the administration, sometimes he'll challenge them with the numbers. And Glenn and Mike Ruda and your team there, you did a fantastic job, very professional and thorough throughout the process, very helpful too in terms of getting knowledge back to us on a timely basis. When drafting budget, you really have to take into account many different factors. You have to look what worked well in years past, what didn't work so well. You have to look at really the needs of the city, the future needs of the city, and most importantly, what our citizens and what the stakeholder groups have said. And I can tell you my travels in my own ward, the people continue to tell us, you know, infrastructure, the major infrastructure projects, the roads and bridges, these are the #1 priorities when they see, when they talk about infrastructure challenges. In fact, I would say beyond crime, this is the most important issue that we're facing as a council. Everyone's talked about the infrastructure deficit that we've seen, whether it be 2.5 million, 1.5 million. The fact of the matter is we need to be spending more money. And I'd like to say over the last 2 years, some years, I think this council deserves a lot of credit for addressing some of the infrastructure issues that are there today. I think we moved in the right direction. We're continuing to move in the right direction in a balanced facet, and very proud of our investments we've made. So to me, what the 2009 capital budget really represents is spending more money on infrastructure and ensuring dollars invested this year go towards infrastructure dollars in 2009. You know, there's been a lot of things that have surprised me since being elected in 2006 coming to City Hall. And one of the big surprises, of course, is the fact that money is sometimes allocated for projects that sometimes sits in reserve accounts for sometimes months and years. And after a while, sometimes people forget why the funding is there, and we have to ask the question. So it's important to have people that have been around, Councillor Clement and other people that can tell us, you know, in terms of why we did some priorities, as well as people in administration. But the budget process was really opened our eyes of how we can improve this project delivery and ensure the capital dollars are being spent in a very timely facet. There's a number of departments I think that we've identified here that will we're going to look at to eliminate the bottleneck, if you will, in terms of the delays of getting these infrastructure projects moving. Improved project delivery methods will result in capital dollars being really getting in the hands of citizens, so they're going to see the benefits of this on a day-to-day basis. And this is especially important with the recent term events, with the economic downturn that we've talked about. I think the Prime Minister today or yesterday had talked about the potential of even going into a depression. And that's something that's very scary. And thus, we need to put these infrastructure dollars to work in the years that they're allocated for. So very much supportive of that. And I think we're stepping in the right direction. As a budget process, I think we got to learn from lessons in the past. Last year, we talked about the focus really of the budget was in terms of the infrastructure, the inflation, where we saw 20 to 30% increases in inflation construction that was there. I want to give administration, public service, some praise, as well as I think some of our politicians that supported this. And this year you're seeing the inflation and construction inflation really being reduced with, I think it's somewhere in the neighborhood of anywhere between 12 to 15%, which I think is more acceptable. We've hired some people that know the books well, and I think we're stepping in the right direction for it. P3s, very pleased that we're continuing our process with the public-private partnerships. I think they make sense in a variety of ways. Number one, it gives cost certainty. We know for a fact that a lot of these projects will cost the taxpayer a lot less money at the end of the day, and it reduces the risk for our citizens in terms of their exposure. The private sector, once we enter into contracts with it, are more exposed and reduces the risk that are there, and it can get these projects done in a timely facet, which I think is very much important. The capital budget highlights, I don't have to go through too many of them, but of course, I'd like to reinforce the importance of the reinvestment of priority, the roads and bridges, spending $2.1 billion in capital projects, over $428 million earmarked for streets and bridges in a multi-year, $95 million just for this year alone, $103 million for community infrastructure amenities, and $56 million for public safety infrastructure, as well as the Central Park redevelopment, which I think is very much important. Now, the topic of active transportation has come up, and this is an area that I'm really interested in. I've been trying to drive projects in our area with Councillor Nordman and a few others to really drive initiatives like this. I think it's time that we invest in it, and I think we have come a long way, as been mentioned before. Before, we didn't have an active transportation coordinator, which we have. We didn't have a plan before, which we've moved the ball in terms of that respect. There's more money that is going towards it. In fact, this year with the amendment that was proposed and accepted at EPC, there's upwards of $225 or $2,250,000 that are allocated towards these types of initiatives, which I think is a very important step. And what I'd like to also mention is I think it's an important balance, okay? You're never going to have people completely get out of your cars. If we can get more people doing whether rapid transit, whether it be cycling, I think that's important. But you're always going to have people that are going to be that are going to need a bridge, they're going to need a road. So you need to take a balanced approach to this. And in my opinion, this very much is a balanced approach. It's a step in the right direction. Is it the exact amount that a lot of the organizations that do a great job, Janice Lukes and their gang there, no, it's not all the money, but it's very much as a step in the right direction. And I think we're moving full-heartedly towards this. The budget also includes $2.3 million for traffic signal enhancements. This is something I think is important in terms of the flow of traffic for it, and it further fulfills Mayor Cates' commitment in terms of transportation. Image route enhancement, Councillor Jabassi was a very much a proponent of it, deserves a lot of credit to ensure that the money was put back in there. This is a fund that the business have really tapped into. My thoughts are I was happy that we were able to reinstore that $400,000. I think what is important to realize with this fund, though, is initially it was set up for the image route enhancements. There were 6 routes that we were talking about, and it seems to evolve to a certain extent of whichever businesses are able to get to that money first are able to tap into it. So I think we really need to go back to the focus of what the program was set up for. I know just in my own patch, St. James Biz has tapped into this fund, and it very much has been some very good projects, the beautification projects and making our area more amenable, which I think is very much a step in the right direction. Water and waste, over the past number of years, I think this is the biggest issue that's facing our city and will be over the next 50 years. Although it still is a big issue facing our city, I think there's a bit of a light at the end of the tunnel, probably due to some money that we got from the feds and the province, as well as looking at our infrastructures that are there.
All in favor, Country
The
Kennedy.
6-year capital, I won't go through the numbers, but obviously over $800 million are invested in that, $114 million for the water systems. And also we're including, of course, the business plan that we talked about the last council meeting that takes a look at the utility and how we deliver this service. So very much excited to hear the results of that. Another issue that we've talked about is in terms of some of the transit projects that are there. Now, the City of Winnipeg has made very much progress in terms of the busing systems that are there. Rapid transit, I was, of course, the only member of council that didn't support rapid transit, but I do support the will of council that is there. I think the mayor and EPC and this whole council deserves a lot of credit for investing this money in there. Maybe not my vintage of how much money we should spend, but I think it is a step in the right direction, and the commitment is very much there, and a commitment to rapid transit. Backlane renewals is another item. I'm glad we were able to put additional money into backlane renewals. I know Councillor Steves and myself joke all the time. I think our wards are very similar in terms of some of the dirt back lanes that are there and the issues that we're facing. But I think the additional money that is there is an important step in the right direction. We need to, in my opinion, find a different approach to this, address